If you're not subscribed already, you hitting that button would really mean a lot to me. So, the Airbus A380's current resurgence is a sight to behold for lovers of not just this super jumbo but quad-engine jets. While its stay in the industry has been relatively short, the question will always be why? And why was the A380 stay ultimately far shorter than expected? What led to the reduction in the series' global flying fleet? But in other words, who really can be blamed for the killing off of this aircraft type, if any at all? During the latter stages of the 2010s, airlines were already shifting their aircraft operation priorities. The A380 was thus very much perceived as less favourable. An airline would need to fill the seats on the aircraft on every single flight to really see the operation with this type work, and in most cases this took a lot of work to complete consistently and was generally unattainable for most. While airlines were beginning to see a shift in the aircraft they used even at the birth of the A380, there was a period still where companies were interested in it. But as we saw the shift continue from the hub and spoke model to point over time, it meant that for your aircraft types such as the A380, while they had fantastic levels of capacity, airlines didn't see them as a fantastic option when there were other, more flexible wide bodies with a lower capacity that they could order more of and deploy to several different airports, whether they be medium-sized or mega hubs. And this is the thing, there was flexibility with your next generation wide bodies such as the A350 and the 787. While you can't compare aspects such as capacity or the higher operating costs, generally because they are completely different aircraft, you can definitely take a look at how airlines believed there was more long-term benefits to these twin-engine planes, as well as greater flexibility. Ultimately, despite entering the industry in the latter stages of the 2000s, the A380 didn't offer the same updated technologies or even say adopt lightweight materials that would make it favourable. Maybe to a certain extent, some airlines took it as an aircraft with dated components, present in an era of change. While yes, the latter stages of also the 2010s saw a true direction of the A380 revealed, that was to be a short-lived one, the global pandemic dealt a severe blow to the worldwide fleet. Similar to most wide bodies, the series was grounded, although for an extended period. And still, for some companies, you'd probably look back and say that the groundings felt very different to that of, say, an A350 or 787 one. There was a lot of uncertainty over whether this wide body would ever return. With demand plummeting and airlines scrambling to cut costs, expensive to operate aircraft like your A380 was among the first to be retired or grounded, way ahead of, say, a more modern jet with only 2 engines. Despite some aircraft returning to service as demand returned sooner than expected, the A380's resurgence has been an odd one to follow, with at times it occurring at limited capacity or having generally an uncertain future. At least for the A380, the program did come to an end following a decision by crucial customer Emirates in the second month of 2019, when the Dubai-based carrier said it would cancel a significant bulk of its remaining orders for the world's largest passenger plane, a decision that was spurred on by many reasons, but generally they had a preference to diversify, evolving with the market trends, and believed that twin-engine wide bodies from Airbus would give them a better chance at capturing more market in the future. Following this, Airbus was forced, you could say, to announce that the jet would cease production in 2021. Emirates was the airline that kept the program alive for that long and ensured that production rates could continue up until that point. But when it cancelled a large bulk of the remaining units, Airbus knew one thing: it would not be able to sell additional aircraft, and was therefore forced to wind down production. Interestingly, Emirates' decision was primarily spurred on by a belief that optimizing its fleet with twin-engine jets like I touched on would have more positive ramifications, with, again, I'm going to say the word, greater flexibility. So, did Emirates kill the A380? Well, from a certain standpoint, they were the reason the program ended earlier than expected. But still, given Emirates' strong commitment to the aircraft, they would actually always be the reason the program ended. It was a matter of when rather than if. Because Airbus couldn't attract interest in the program, the next area of focus is actually on the European plane maker. Are they one of the reasons why this plane failed too? While Airbus's timing in bringing the A380 to market coincided with the changing trends as I briefly touched on at the beginning of this analysis, there was still some interest in the aircraft present. However, given its sheer size and the way to optimally use it, only so many customers were ever going to be interested in such a type. You wouldn't have a Ryanair, but you may have a British Airways. Had the type entered service earlier, well, its fate may have been very different. We can always ponder that. Perhaps maybe it emerged too late. Some people argue to this day that the resurgence in the A380 we've seen right about now explains why these aircraft were built to begin with, for airlines to leverage these in-demand routes with a high-capacity aircraft. And these people go on to say that maybe if there was a more efficient version of an A380 built, it would truly succeed. Those views can't be proven, and at the end of the day, your European plane maker is not interested in pursuing these endeavours. One significant hurdle for the A380 though was certainly its lack of efficiency compared to newer aircraft models. The burden of 4 engines was evident at times, and other factors such as the need to upgrade airports to accommodate this plane all contributed to its general limited adoption by companies right around the world. Moreover, airlines operating the jet had to heavily rely on consistently filling its high capacity. We are not talking a capacity of 350. At times, it is over 500, and when you're factoring this into it being highly competitive markets where the jet was deployed, it's very challenging, and only certain airlines can make this work. While Emirates, yes, played a part in the end of the A380 program, like I said, can it be labelled the killer of the type? Officially, yes, but in terms of intent, absolutely no. The airline stood by the jet during its lows and continued to increase its orders across the early stages of the 2010s. Its affection for the plane is evident, and it will likely be the last operator of this aircraft come the 2040s. So, therefore, the fate of the A380's performance largely rests on Airbus, and its struggle to achieve success that was perhaps once anticipated for the type. Despite numerous efforts from the manufacturer to sell the aircraft, it never materialized into contracts that were strong enough to sustain the jet's production well into the 2030s. There were numerous factors that resulted in the end of the Airbus A380, but at the very least for aviation enthusiasts that love seeing quad-engine planes, the massive resurgence in demand following the pandemic has given these planes a new lease on life. For how long remains to be seen, and maybe if there are any positives in the delayed arrival of the 777X and A350 supply chain problems, it would be that not just the A380, but even the Queen of the Skies is sticking around that little bit longer with a few airlines. That's going to conclude today's analysis. If you've got any thoughts, do leave them down below in the comments. I really do appreciate the support you show here on the channel. Be sure to take care, be safe. I'll see you in a couple of days for more aviation analysis.
And we'll fly.